I, a 32-year-old man, am divorcing my 33-year-old wife after learning that my 5-year-old son is not really mine. I discovered a few weeks ago that my spouse had an affair with me 6 years prior. I learned about it through her sister, who visited her to inquire about the circumstances surrounding the birth of her first kid. She told me that 6 years prior, my wife had informed her that she had had an alcoholic sleep with her best friend. My wife told me that she was really sorry at the moment. Worried about the worst, I proceeded to take a paternity test with my son as soon as we left her house. When I received the results a week later, I realized that my son was not really mine. I started to view the youngster differently, more as an acquaintance than as my son, for whatever reason. I went to my wife at night when the child was sleeping, armed with proofs. She inquired as to who had told me, and I answered flatly that it didn't concern her, though it won't take long to figure out that it was her sister. That isn't my concern right now, though. In spite of this, I requested a divorce from her, which is currently being processed. She was inconsolable. She repeatedly assured me that nothing would happen to her with anybody else and that ever since, she has been physically and spiritually faithful to me. I suppressed my inclination to make fun of her in order to keep the divorce proceedings from getting messy. She was largely untrue, blaming the drink for her actions rather than accepting responsibility for them. She threatened me when we spoke about it, claiming she would demand complete custody of the child. I assured her it was okay because I was so irritated at the time. I have no desire to interact with something that is not mine. That I'll keep the dogs and she keeps the child. Our 2 dogs, who we brought into our home as puppies, are 8 years old apiece. She attempted to persuade me to care for the child with her after I said that I am his father. Dad! I burst out at that very time. I screamed at her to go take her bastard with her because I was so furious and had suppressed my need to shout so much. That was a week ago, and now I'm at home. Since it's a gift from my parents, it's in my name. She and her child headed to her parents' house. Since then, she has not given me a call. Especially considering it was the first time I truly yelled at her, she took off with everything including the kid who was half asleep when I yelled at her. She was definitely impacted by it. After I spoke with my parents, my father advised me not to raise something that is not my own child and that I had made the correct decision. And I concur with him. The ache is still present, though. I was told to write here for my own amusement by my younger brother. My therapist, with whom I currently visit 3 times a week, informed me that I had already made the first move, leaving behind the things that hurt me. The knowledge that my family is no longer with us aches. My sister-in-law explained to me why she told me everything, even though she knew my son might not be mine. She felt bad for me when she saw how happy I was with him all the time. And that she broke down entirely with shame because we visited her during a time of weakness. I'm not sure how accurate that is. I only know that at the moment, I have an intense hate for my wife and a conflicted sense of hurt and bitterness towards the child. I simply hope the divorce goes well, even though it's time to move on. According to my lawyer, if she truly requests child support, I have evidence that it is not mine because we have different bank accounts and assets. If she attempts a court case for that, that will be more than sufficient. In addition, my therapist advised me to stop seeing both of them, to put my needs first and let go of the child's feelings. After all, they are no longer my problems, and to accept this as soon as possible. I apologize for the typos. My first language isn't English. Let's review the feedback before making any updates. Exactly, these effing scumbags are urging us to get cock, the user retorted. I must now assume responsibility for this child, who was conceived as a result of another man hitting his wife. No, F. Another comment, I understand how angry and disappointed you are right now because I experienced the same thing. Just keep going hard and concentrate on yourself, as I did. I'm sorry for the child, even though it took me 4 years, but I also think that the original poster shouldn't forfeit his time, money, or mental well-being for the child of another. His wife ought to track down his biological father and bring him to justice. Let's go on to the update. It's been 2 weeks since my initial publication and 3 weeks since all that occurred. Although not much of note has really happened, the following is a brief synopsis. My ex visited my house around 3 days after I published. I got outside and went to greet her. I informed her that she would not be allowed inside my home while I was here. Should she speak, it should come from the door. She was nearly pleading with me to return her son. That's okay if I choose to stop communicating with her, but she can't raise a child by herself. That she works, and that her dream of becoming a notary will be dashed if she raises him by herself. She works in public records and has 2 more years before she can run for a position as a notary public in the judiciary. In an attempt to calm her down, I told her that my therapist had advised me to stop communicating with both of them and to please go out of my door before I go crazy. Although I like the child, I don't want to vent my resentment on an innocent person, especially when this innocent person is the result of the child's incapacity to keep her legs closed. We were on the street, so even though I was a little angry when I said this final statement, I didn't raise my voice. That she is currently in charge of providing better for the youngster, who deserves it. I'm not sure how, but that's no longer an issue for me. We continued to talk after that. Again, we were on the street, and she always considers what people say about her, so she resisted the impulse to try to cry and make a fuss. She requested me to at least let her see the dogs as her final request. No, I informed her, it would be best if they grew accustomed to her being gone. Their excitement at seeing her again after all this time will only grow. She merely nodded and walked away after that. She called me 2 days later to let me know she had received the divorce papers. I made a mistake answering the phone since she started screaming approximately 30 minutes later. I was able to tell her that the paperwork needed to include my civil lawyer's information so she could contact her with any questions. I then turned off her phone. She hasn't attempted to call or visit my residence since then. I told a friend I made while pursuing my master's degree to go out that same day. We've been going out ever since she said yes. When I finally informed her last Friday that we should be an exclusive couple, she agreed. She has spent a few days staying and sleeping at my house. I'm glad she already knows and loves my dogs since I couldn't start a relationship with someone who wouldn't accept my animals. Right now, we're taking it easy. She accepts my decision even though she is aware of the drama I am having with my ex and the child. She questioned me about whether or not I would ever speak to the child again. She nodded and expressed her gratitude that I am prioritizing myself during this process. I told her that perhaps when he is old enough to comprehend my choices, but that I don't expect it to interfere with my life in the future. This is a synopsis of what has been going on lately. I apologize if it took a little longer than anticipated. A lot of people have been requesting an update. Thus, this is it. Here is the second update. I am, to put it politely, officially a divorced guy. Quick divorce is a type of divorce that is available in my country. If there are no children, joint finances, or common assets, the divorce can be completed administratively rather than through a court system, saving time and money on the whole process that would have involved asset distribution, reconciliation, and other related tasks. You can infer from what has been said that the child's ailment was the only issue. Then the paternity test issue arose, allowing me to confirm that the child in question is not mine and that my name and last name were successfully removed from his birth certificate. At the moment, the boy goes by both of his mother's last names. It was not an easy divorce to go through. I thought of my ex-wife's repeated attempts to manipulate the child's mental condition into returning to her, but my ability to remain focused was mostly due to my recollections of all that transpired. I also have to thank my present partner, who has always encouraged me and supported my choices. Even though I already know that I am not at fault for any of this, having her tell me this was still helpful in some way. Ultimately, following numerous conversations and consultations with our lawyers, I informed her that I could cover half of the nanny's income while she worked on improving her situation, but she would be responsible for covering the other portion and any future expenses herself. Thankfully, she consented. She agreed when I cautioned her not to count on me to look after her son, though. She has always given her all at work, so I imagine that becoming a single mother has come as a big shock to her. To be curious, I asked her whether she had spoken to the child's father. She said that she had tried, and that he had even spent 2 weeks living with them at her parents' house, but that they couldn't possibly get along because they had nothing in common. In order to prevent him and the child from yelling at one another, even she had to step in. Thus, a few weeks later, the man simply moved out of her house. Anyway, she is a woman with a decent profession and a fantastic figure, despite the fact that it is a little depressing. She's going to have a nanny in a year. She has more than enough time to find her son a good stepfather. I don't have any plans to speak with him in the interim. If the youngster doesn't want to talk to me, I won't force the conversation, perhaps when he's a teenager or in a few years. I won't try to build a relationship with him if he doesn't want to, since I accept if he hates me. After discussing the child with her, she told me how much she despised me and how quickly I had found a partner. This annoyed me since my current partner was present, and I had to step in to prevent a fight between the two. She couldn't bear it when I stared down at her during the conversation, as if I had sympathy for her, even though she signed the divorce papers and said she appreciated my help. She felt wounded and incensed at me looking down on her because she has always been a pretty proud person and has accomplished everything on her own merit. I assured her that, despite my constant appearance, I understand what she was talking about. I genuinely believe she suffers from paranoia, but that's not my problem either. What matters is that she ultimately signed the documents, allowing me to reclaim my life. I guess it's a reasonable price for tranquility, even if I will be paying half the minimum wage for a nanny for a year. Although I also felt awful for her, I decided to just accept it and move on this month. Yes, I too despise her, but not to the point where I would say so out loud or wish her bad luck. I guess she's had enough of her issues. I appreciate that my present spouse has to put up with all of this. I repeatedly assured her that they were my problems and that she didn't need to worry about them or come to meetings with me. However, she asserted that I shouldn't bear all of it on my own because my troubles are also hers. To be honest, having that burden lifted off my shoulders has really helped. She is also fully aware of the fact that I'm not in a rush to tie the knot, not this year, and maybe not the next. At least I won't have any lasting effects from this chapter of my life coming to an end. I'm glad that in the end, OP got by. From this jumble, let's go on to the remarks that come before the second tale. Let me tell you something, I always stand by the man who discovers he has been misled. Raising a child who is not your own is not something you should have to do, particularly in light of the emotional baggage that surrounds him these days. Everyone involved is horrified, with the exception of your ex-wife. I'm very sorry this is how your life transpired. An additional observation: I just wanted to note that I seem to recall seeing remarks that said things like "you're the a-hole for leaving that child" and other such things. I completely admire what you accomplished. I'm not sure how you may be feeling, but congrats on your divorce. Tonight, I'm going to pour some brandy in your honor. Let's go on to the second tale. Karma slapped my ex right in the face. Background: 20 years together, 16 years married, and 3 children together. After viewing messages on her phone and breaking into it, I learned about her affair. After ending her affair with a coworker, she attempted to mend our marriage. Not going to happen. She moved out in November 2018 and began seeing her affair partner right away after filing for divorce in October 2018. Final divorce in December 2019. Up until last week, she remained with her lover. My former partner begs me on the phone to take the kids again for the night. I inquire as to what's wrong and whether she's okay. In response, she says that karma slapped me right in the face. She continues by saying that she sensed a strange vibe and chose to check her AP's phone when he was taking a shower. The same way I learned about her affair, she discovered a massive thread of Facebook conversations with unpleasant words, sexting photos, and other things. My former partner, who is 52 years old and 39 years old, is married to a 28-year-old woman. Please understand that I wanted to shout with joy that it had finally occurred to her. I warned her right away that the man is a predator. But after listening to her out, I realized that she was genuinely in love with this guy, and part of me felt bad for her. I took her words with a grain of salt because I've moved on, found someone, and we have been dating happily for the last 6 months. Ironically, she apologized to me that day more than she ever had about cheating on me. She said things like, "I am so sorry I put you through this, and I never realized how much this hurt you." The purpose of this post is to reassure everyone that, even in the most difficult divorce situation, everything will turn out okay and that, on occasion, karma will intervene and exact a small measure of revenge. On to the update now. Update: a few folks have been writing me for updates since my 2-year anniversary of karma slapped my ex right in the face. My ex discovered him before they could meet up, but there was almost another instance of cheating with the AP. She controls his phone completely, keeps an eye on all of his apps, and checks his texts all the time. To me, that sounds like hell. It's kind of an odd on-off situation that my ex and AP are still sort of sorted together. Permit me to elaborate on it. She claims that they are not together because they both have single statuses on Facebook. She still wears his engagement ring on occasion. I'm pretty sure she would return that to him in the same way that she wouldn't return my $122,000 wedding ring to me. Though she claims they merely hang out as friends, she does occasionally overnight at his residence. Why? Because we all hang out, sleep in our ex's bed, and spend the night at their place? She still believes everyone is so stupid, and it still makes me laugh. She had to change occupations in the interim since she had a close friendship with the plant manager. They went to lunch together, went on walks during breaks, rode Harleys, and talked all the time. Things got really messy there as rumors began to spread. Her coworker is married and has 3 children. He still occasionally visits her home and will take her out for a Harley ride, to the movies, or anything. It seems that our teenage kid witnessed her sharing a kiss in the driveway. Our kid called me to ask about this person because he didn't know who it was. I pretended to be stupid and instructed him to ask his mother who it was. Because he had been over the day before, grilling out and mowing her lawn, he assumed that she and AP were still dating. There's another new man. She won't reveal where or how she first met him. They had 2 dates, but she didn't appear interested in him. It's likely that they were acquainted from a prior employment, as he persistently expressed his desire to reconnect with all of her former colleagues and friends. The other day, retirement was on our minds. She is aware that after I finish paying child support and my children are all 18 years old, I intend to go into semi-retirement in 6 years. In search of a warmer environment, I intend to move south. She told me the sob tale of how she was forced to stay at home and raise all of our kids while I created a business, and how she most likely wouldn't be able to retire and would have to work till the day she dies. That is really not the case. I contributed the same amount of time, chores, and energy to our family as she did. While she was out partying 4 or 5 nights a week with her friends, I did even more than her for a few years. Her facial reaction was amazing to witness when I told her, "You made your choice to leave me and go with your AP." Her retirement plan was me. She is in her early 40s and now has an incredible $14,000 in her 401k for retirement. Even in the event that she stays, returns, or does anything else with her AP, he makes a living wage, has no savings, a meager retirement, and neither a window nor a pot to urinate out of. Thus, some karma is involved. I would want to share this thinking with everyone who is going through or about to go through a divorce. Our divorce was finalized in December 2019, but from October 2018 till then, my life was completely destroyed. After a few years, I'm at my happiest point in life. My goal is to take an early retirement and spend time at the beach. There has never been a finer or stronger bond between myself and my children. Be a nice person even in the face of such gloom and horror. Don't mislead or lie. Avoid attempting to be spiteful or putting the children in the middle of you and them. Walk on with your head held high. Your life will be better the further you can move away from the gloom. My friends, never give up, you can do this. Let's go on to the comments. Good for you. Living well truly is the best revenge. She's only just starting to feel the consequences. Every year that goes by, she will feel it a little more. But she wanted the rom-com drama, so let's see how that works out for her. Meanwhile, you get to sit back and not let it be your nightmare anymore. Another one, I'm so happy for you. I went through a horrible divorce which took years to finish. He doesn't have contact with our youngest. She was 6 months when he left. He got his AP pregnant straight away. I feel like I was really cheated in our divorce, but that's another story. I moved on, met my hubby, had 2 more kids. I have no knowledge of what he is up to. Last I heard, he married her. He messages me now and again about maintenance, but he pays the minimum and has never asked how his kids are. I find it so odd. That concludes our talk for today.